President, please be seated. The court is back in session, and the floor is once again given to the defense team for Mr. Kilsampon to resume her questioning. You may now proceed.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Mr. President. We were speaking before the break about the moment when you managed to come out of the pit, and you said that you then went to Chitali, and yesterday at 11:29 you said that apparently, and I quote you, free translation, I then walked day and night until I reached the village. In French it did not come out, the name of the village, but the name in Khmer apparently is the commune of Chung Cruz. And then you went to Tali's home, apparently. So can you confirm that it took you 1 day and 1 night to reach Tali's house? And can you tell us specifically where his house was located?
Answer. His house was located at Jeung Kru, and I arrived at his house.
Et est-ce que vous avez...
And did it take you indeed 1 day and 1 night to reach his house?
Answer. Yes, that is correct.
I am putting these questions to you in order to be clear about everything, because we have here different documents relating to your account. And the first document I would like to refer to is document E3/6695, E3/6695, which is part B of your civil party application, which was filed before the ECCC. And my first question is, do you remember that in order to become a civil party in this case, you had to fill out, with the assistance of someone, of course, a form? Do you remember having to fill out a form to become a civil party?
Answer. I had filled in the application reports.
Donc, dans...
So in this application, this is what you state. It is therefore the document I just mentioned at French ERN 011398845, Khmer ERN 00561350, and English ERN 01066664. And this is what is stated in this application, in the form. At around 6 o'clock in the evening, I regained my conscience, and then I walked towards a flooded forest by a lake, and I was swimming to hide at the foot of a mountain in the middle of the forest. 1 week afterwards only, I found a boat to seek refuge in the village of Somrong Sen, and I was only eating water lilies in the forest. End of quote, free translation.
Formulaire.
So in this form, there is no mention of your stay at Tali's home. So can you confirm that you did indeed go to Tali's home after having regained your consciousness?
Answer. After I became conscious, I continued to walk to Tali's house.
You confirmed earlier that you walked for 1 day and 1 night in order to reach Tali's home. In your supplementary statement E3/5631, which was produced with your lawyer, on page French page ERN 008988372, Khmer ERN 008971514, and English ERN 00678292. This is what is stated. I quote, free translation: I managed to come out of the pit. It's at the very bottom of the page in French. I managed to come out of the pit, and I walked for 1 hour until I reached a Vietnamese person, Mr. Tali, and he hid me in his home, and his family helped me heal my wounds, and I stayed there for about 2 nights. So my question is the following. Is that the correct version, or is the correct version the one that you stated at the hearing, that it took you 1 day and 1 night to reach Tali's home, or is the correct version the version that is stated in the supplementary statement, which indicates that it took you 1 hour to reach Tali's home?
President, please observe the microphone before you speak. Civil party. I spent 1 day and 1 night before I reached Tali's house.
So do you know why in your supplementary statement it is indicated 1 hour?
Answer. I'm sorry, I do not know about it.
In the civil party application form, which I referred to earlier, E36695, the village of Samarong Sen is mentioned. So at one point in time, did you end up in this commune of Samarong Sen after having met Tali or on the way to Tali's place?
Answer. I was assisted by Tali to recover my wounds. And 4 or 5 days later, I had a letter from him allowing me to go to Vietnam. So I spent 7 days in Samrang San, said the civil party.
Well, there's something here I didn't understand quite well. Where is Samrong Sen? Because based on what you said during the hearing, and you said that you came out of the pit and you went straight to Tali's place, and now I understood that you stayed at Tali's place for 2.5 months. So when exactly did you end up in Samrong Sen?
Answer. It was the period of 2.5 months when I got the letter of permission from Tali. I was able to reach Samrang San.
So if I understood you well, you were at Samrong Sen when you were on your way to catch a boat. Is that correct?
Answer. Yes, that is correct. I went to Samrang San first, and after that I boarded the ferry.
But I had understood from your testimony yesterday that you first took the same boat as Tali's family, and that it is from that boat that you then were transferred to the ferry. Or did I understand you properly, or can you please clarify?
Answer. I stayed at Dali's house for more than 2 months. And Dali was afraid that there would be a trouble for his family. And in fact, there were 8 members within Dali family, and because of the fact that he was afraid of the trouble happened in his family, he told me to go to Sam Rong San before I could be on board on the ferry to Vietnam.
Yes, of course. But yesterday, when you were answering the questions, we understood that you had taken Tali's boat. And here, if I understand your testimony, it is in Samrong Sen that you caught a ferry. So can you clarify here? Because I'm not quite clear about all of this.
Answer. Actually, 7 days after I arrived at Sam Rong San, Tali called me back to be on boat before I got on another ferry.
And it is Tali, apparently, you said, who gave you a kind of laissez-passer. Is that so?
Answer. That he was simply an ordinary citizen in Krua.
Yes, I understood that. You spoke, but you told me about a message that Tali had given to you, or what kind of message was this?
Answer. Tali actually registered numbers of his family that they wanted to go to Vietnam. So he said that there were 8 members of his family that wanted to go to Vietnam. And as I said, I was hiding in the boat together with 8 members of Tali family before I was able to board the ferry in front of the Royal Parade. There is the tributary. Rather, tributary.
Le point sur lequel je voudrais...
I understood that well, but what I need clarification about is this mail you received from Tali. You said that he gave you a letter. What was this letter?
Answer. It was not the letter of permission. In fact, I meant the letter was issued for Tali's family so that the family was able to leave for Vietnam.
Ok.
Fine. And you also said that Tali was an ordinary citizen, and you also said that he was Vietnamese. So do we agree on that?
Answer. Yes, that is correct.
Et le courrier...
And the letter you just spoke about was therefore a letter allowing the family to go back to Vietnam. That is to say that Tali and his family had made a request in that sense. So is that what I'm supposed to understand?
Answer. I didn't know at the time, but Tali made a request so that the family could go home. He got a letter to go back home in Vietnam, and I was able to hide in his boat.
In your supplementary statement E3/5631, French ERN 00898373, in English 00678293, and Khmer 00897515. This is what is indicated regarding the way the passage, the transfer to the ferry was managed. And this is what you said. Free translation: the Vietnamese government and the Khmer Rouge had agreed to exchange rice and salt for a free passage of the Vietnamese to Vietnam. We had to stay close to the boat. We were not allowed to go everywhere. All of the boats had to stop at the Nic Long market for 3 days. End of quote. So do you remember having said that to your lawyer?
Answer. What I recall is that at one time I arrived at Nha Luang, and during that time the Khmer Angka said a civil party discussed with the Vietnamese Angka about the matter. I did not know at the time how the battering process was going on, and then I was called to board the Vietnamese ferry, and I was told that my life was spared because of because of the bags of rice and salt.
Interpreter correction, it was Nha Luang, not Nic Luang. Nha Luang is stated as a market. So did you know this market before?
Answer. I had not known the Nha Luang before that time.
The ferry which you boarded, did you know if this ferry used to carry people or this ferry used to carry freight?
Answer. I did not remember at that time whether the Vietnamese ferry carried only freight and not human beings. I was only thinking how to survive at that time.
A last point regarding your statement E3/5631, you confirmed to my colleague yesterday that this was a document that was read to you again. So were you able to possibly correct the inaccuracies in this document if there were some in the translation that you heard?
Answer. I do not want to make any correction.
J'en ai terminé.
I am done, Mr. President. My colleague Kong Somon has a few brief questions to finish with our cross-examination.
President, thank you. You have the floor now, Kong Samon. Kong Samon. Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Your Honors. Good morning, Mr. Civil Party. I have brief questions. Starting first with the aerial bombing. Have you ever heard or did you ever hear about the area bombing in 1975 when you were in Kampong Lane district? Once again, did you ever hear the aerial bombing or the rockets were being launched at that time?
បាទសម័យ
Answer. Answer. At that time, I knew that there was aerial bombing or rockets were being launched. There were airplanes over in the sky, and I was hiding in the trenches. Question. How often did it happen? Answer. I only knew at the time that there were aerial bombings from time to time on my village, and I did not know what happened in other villages. Question. I would like to know whether the aerial bombing happened very quite often in your village. Answer. There was two times. There were two times of aerial bombings within my village. Council, thank you. What about other villages? Did aerial bombing happen in other villages? Answer. I heard the sounds of explosion, and whenever we heard that sound, we would resort to the trenches. Question. At that time, did you know how the administration process was conducted? Done by the United Front and the other organizations. Answer. I was young at the time. I did not know about that matter. I was so afraid of military at the time. Council, thank you. Concerning the closing of the cadres and officials within your village, how did you notice the differences of clothing? Answer. I did not know about that matter. Council, thank you. In relation to document A3/5631 on page 1 in all 3 languages, I heard you testified that you left Rusay Bongkuich and arrived at Kandal village in Kampong Chnang province. But in the document I quoted, you stated that you left Rusay Bongkuich for Da village at Kongkaip mountain. Which version of your statements was correct? Answer. The statement that I said I left Rusay Bongkuich to Da village was correct. Council. Now, coming back to Lang Tai, could you tell the court the physical feature of that Lang Tai? What was the color of Lang Tai and how large was it? Answer. I did not remember at that time. I heard my parents say about Lang Tai, and Lang Tai was priceless, what they said. Counsel, you have never seen that Lang Thai document. Is that correct? Your parents only told that they hid the Lang Thai in your family. Is that correct? Answer, yes, that is correct. Counsel, you made a mention on many occasions that you fled your village, you fled to Kampong Lane. You also testified that Dali had told you that Vietnamese were allowed to go back to Vietnam. Did Dali at that time only tell you about that information, or was there a wider information? Answer. At the time, Dali told me about that matter. Counsel, did Dali also tell you about the registration process before you all could manage to board the ferry in Phnom Penh? Answer, no, he did not. Question. So this means that Vietnamese people were allowed to board the ferry at the Tributary. Is that correct? Answer, yes, that is correct. Counsel, thank you. Upon your arrival at the Tributary or Tonle Bun Muk, did you at that time come on land before you boarded the ferry? Answer. At that time, Dali boat was approaching the ferry, and later on we got onto the ferry. Counsel, can you once again tell the court about other boats? Were there any other boats close to the ferry?
បាទខ្ញុំឃើញ
There were many boats next to the ferry, but I could not say whose the boats belong to. Question. Can you tell us the specific location where you boarded the ferry, that is at the Tributary? Answer. I know the location, but I do not know what it is called. It is right at the island where the tributary exists. Question. So from what you said, the ferry parked next to an island, but not on the riverside opposite the Royal Palace. Am I correct? Answer, yes, that is correct. Question. After boarding the ferry? How many people did you see? Answer. There were many people and I did not count. However, I could only give you my estimate. There were about 50 or 60 people on the ferry, and after I boarded, the ferry left. Question. Now, about the ferry itself. Can you tell the chamber the size of the ferry, that is the length and the width or the height? Answer. I cannot recall the length or the width or the depth of the ferry at all. Question. Can you give us at least a rough estimate size of the ferry? President Sivapati, please observe the microphone. Answer. It is about the size of the sand dredger every day that is being used. Question. Can you tell us a little bit more whether it had a wall on the sides or whether it was a ferry, a passenger ferry, or it was a kind of ferry that is used to tow a ship, for example? Answer. There was a roof at the back side of the ferry, but the front part of the ferry was not covered. Question. Did the ferry bear any flag? I understand that you cannot read Khmer. However, did you observe if there was any flag or a Cambodian flag flying on that ferry? Answer. I just fled from the date, from my date, and of course I did not pay attention if there was any flag flying. Question. Upon your arrival at Net Luang, you stated that you were ordered to get off the ferry, and then salt and rice was transported onto the ferry. Can you tell us the number of bags, or at least the approximate weight of the combined salt and rice? Answer. No, I cannot recall that. As I said, we were ordered to get off the ferry, then there was a head count, and then we boarded another ferry and left. Question. Did you see the representatives from the two ferries, that is the Cambodian and the Vietnamese authorities, hold any discussion or exchange any document at that time? Answer. No, I did not see that. Question. Again, when you were at Net Luang, did you see any other Vietnamese boats which just arrived in order to get onto the ferry leaving for Vietnam? Answer. Yes, there were other boats which just arrived. However, I cannot give you the exact number of boats. There could be between 20 to 30 boats which arrived after I had arrived. Question. Those who came by boat and that you saw at Nat Leung also boarded that ferry together with you. Am I correct in saying that? Answer: no, I did not see that. I saw those people on the boat were talking amongst themselves, and then I got on the other ferry and left. Question: and when you arrived in Vietnam, can you tell the court where you lived and under whose administration? President Civil Party, please observe the microphone. Civil Party, we rushed it there, that is at a school. I was at that school for 7 days. Then they signed a letter or something. Then I was sent to Dak Chu and I remained there. Question: the location where you lived, was it a kind of a concentration camp or did you live mingled with other Vietnamese? Answer: no, we did not live mingled with the local Vietnamese there. We lived in a camp. Question: did you live there until 1982 or were you relocated elsewhere? Answer: frankly speaking, I was by myself. I did not have my parents or my family members, so I worked as a laborer tending cattle to earn a living. Question: my question to you is that did you remain living in that camp from 1975 until 1982? Or did you move to live elsewhere during these years? Answer: I lived in the camp, but I went off the camp to work as a laborer to earn a living, to tend water buffaloes. Question: you tended water buffalo and did you return to sleep in the camp at night? Answer: I tended the water buffalo for a year and I stayed at the owner's house and I received 20 tau of rice and some pairs of clothes during this period of 1 year. Question: did you see or meet any other Vietnamese who were sent from Cambodia to live in that camp while you were there? Answer: I tended water buffaloes and lived at the owner's house. And there were Vietnamese who had lived there before I arrived, and they said that Vietnamese who arrived from Cambodia were sent to live in different provinces within Vietnam. Question: sir, based on what you just stated, there were other people arriving at the camp from Cambodia before your arrival. Am I correct? Answer: no, I was the first group who arrived. I was placed in that camp and that was the first batch. Question: so you were the first batch to arrive in that camp and later on there were other batches who arrived in that camp. Is that correct? Answer: yes, that is correct. Thank you, and Mr. President, I don't have any further question for this civil party. President, thank you, Council. And Mr. Trương Yang Chet, you may now have an opportunity to make a victim's impact statement, if any, concerning the crimes which are alleged against the two accused, Noon Chi and Khieu Samphan, and harm suffered by you during the Democratic Cambodia, that is from 17 April 1975 to 6 January 1979, and which resulted in your civil party application to claim collective and moral reparations for physical, material, or mental injuries as direct consequences of those crimes. You may proceed. Civil party, excuse me, Mr. President, please repeat your last phrase. President, you as a civil party, you are entitled to make a statement about your suffering that you encountered during the Democratic Cambodia period, and which led you to file a civil party application. And those harms could be physical, material, or mental, and which are the direct consequences of crimes inflicted upon you personally, and which were related to the crimes alleged against the two accused, that is Noon Chi and Khieu Samphan, for the period between 17 April 1975 to the 6th January 1979. And if you wish to make that statement of suffering before the chamber, you may proceed. Civil party, I'd like to put the questions to them. For example, that I suffered from the loss of my parents, my family members, and that I am by myself with my head injury. And for them, if they were in my position, how would they feel? That is the question, Mr. President. President, so you actually don't wish to make an impact statement, but you wish to put the questions to the civil party, as you just said. Am I correct? Civil party, yes, that is correct, Mr. President. President, thank you, Mr. Jin Yang Chet. And the chamber wishes to inform you that after ascertaining the positions of both accused on 8 January 2015 regarding the exercise of the right to remain silent, the chamber notes that the two accused maintains their express position unless and until such time the chamber is expressly informed otherwise by the co-accused or their counsels. It is therefore incumbent upon them to inform the chamber in a timely and efficient manner should the accused resolved to waive the right to remain silent and be willing to respond to questions by the bench or relevant parties at any stage of the proceedings. As of today, the chamber is not informed that the co-accused have changed their express position and agreed to provide their responses to the questions. For that reason, the chamber does not have the authority to compel the accused to respond to your questions, and that is pursuant to the ECC internal rules as well as the law. And Mr. Chun Yang Chat, the Chamber wishes to thank you, and I noticed the National Lead Co-Lawyer on his feet. Mr. President, I had a discussion with Council for Civil Parties, Lima Wien, and it seems that the civil party does not understand about his entitlements to make an impact statement regarding his suffering. And lawyer for civil party Lima Wien would like to seek your permission to give him the opportunity again to speak about his impact statement, and before that she wishes to have 3 minutes to explain the procedure to this civil party. And I believe this is important, and this is the last opportunity for the civil party to participate in this proceeding. President, the civil party will not be allowed to make any statement, as I have put the opportunities twice to the civil party, but he declined to take it. And Mr. Civil Party, the Chamber wishes to thank you for your time and testimony as a civil party before this court. Your testimony may contribute to ascertaining the truth in this case. You may now be excused from the courtroom and returns to your residence or wherever you wish to return. We wish you all the very best. Court officer, please, in collaboration with WISU, make necessary transportation arrangement for the civil party to return to. And the chamber now proceeds with hearing testimony of another witness, that is through TCW 945. And court officer, please usher the witness to TCW 945 into the courtroom. President, good morning, Mr. Witness. What is your name? And Mr. Witness, please wait till the microphone becomes operational. That is when you see the red light at the tip of the microphone so that your voice can go through the interpretation system where your voice or your statement will be interpreted into English and French. So again, what is your name, Mr. Witness? Witness, my name is Prum Sarun. President, thank you, Mr. Prum Sarun. And when were you born? I was born in the month of April, that is on Tuesday. President, which year you were born? Can you tell the court which year you were born, Mr. Witness? Witness 55. Question. Were you born in 1952 or 1955 or 1942? Because in your written record of interview, you stated that you were born on the 1st of January 1942. Which one is correct? Answer. It was in 1942. Question. And how old are you this year? Answer. I am 74 years old. President, thank you. And where were you born? Answer. It was at Krapachung village, Phnom Sampeu commune, Banon district. Question. And where is your current address? Answer. It is at Krapachung village, that is the same village. Currently, I still live in my native village. Question. And what is your current occupation? Answer. I am a rice farmer. Question. And what are the names of your parents? Answer. My father is Bu Prum and my mother is Sen Phuong. Question. What is the name of your wife and how many children do you have? Answer. I have 7 children. Question. And what is your wife's name? President, I refer to your wife. What is your wife's name? Answer. My wife is Nham Num. President, Mr. Prum Sarun, the greffier made an oral report this morning that to your best knowledge you are not related to the 2 accused, Nuon Chea or Khieu Samphan, or to any of the civil parties admitted in this case. Is that information accurate? Answer. I am not related to them. Question. What I mean is that are you related to them by blood or by law, or in relation to anyone who had any dealing with this court? Answer. No, I am not. question, have you taken an oath before your appearance? Answer, I took an oath yesterday. President, thank you, Mr. Prom Sarun. The Chamber would like now to inform you of your rights and obligations as a witness. Your rights. As a witness in the proceedings before the Chamber, you may refuse to respond to any question or to make any comment which may incriminate you. That is your right against self-incrimination. Your obligations. As a witness in the proceedings before the Chamber, you must respond to any questions by the bench or relevant parties, except where your response or comments to those questions may incriminate you, as the Chamber has just informed you of their rights as a witness. You must tell the truth that you have known, heard, seen, remembered, experienced, or observed directly about any event or occurrence relevant to the questions that the bench or the parties pose to you. And Mr. Prom Sarun, have you provided an interview or any interview to the investigators of the Office of the Co-Investigating Judges? If so, how many times, when, and where? Answer. I was interviewed once in my village. There were investigators who came to speak to me about Tat Dao and his children who were killed at Phnom Sampeu. President, and do you recall when that interview was made? Answer. It happened at the year of the liberation. President, I refer here to the year of your interview. Do you recall which year, 2000 something, that you were interviewed? Answer, no, I cannot recall it. President, that is all right. And before your appearance, have you read, reviewed, or have your interview read out to you? That is the interview that you provided to the investigators of the Office of the Co-Investigating Judges at your native village in order to refresh your memory? Answer, I forget it all. It happened quite a long time ago. President, Mr. Witness, do you know how to read? Answer, I can read, but now I have difficulty reading. Question. Regarding your interview, did anyone read aloud your written record of interview to you before you appear today? For example, yesterday somebody read it aloud to you or not? Answer, my wife read it to me, but I forget it all. I don't recall it. President, thank you, Mr. Prom Sarun. The time is now for our lunch break. We will take a break now and resume at 1:30 this afternoon. Court officer, please assist the witness at the waiting room reserved for witnesses and civil parties during the lunch break, and invite him back into the courtroom at 1:30 this afternoon. security personnel, she instructed to take Kyu Sampon to the waiting room downstairs and have him returned to attend the proceedings this afternoon before 1:30. The court is now in recess.